Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Vice Nodge, and today we're doing another Total Drama What If video. And today's topic is what if Anne Maria didn't quit in Total Drama Revenge of the Island. Now before we begin, I just want to thank you all for helping the channel grow so much lately. Over 1,000 subscribers in this month, and it's been amazing. Thank you so much. And also I'd like to thank everyone who voted on the poll to help me decide what to make this video about. In case you don't know, I did a poll between this season and Pacateo Island to see which season people wanted a video on. This one won astoundingly, as I'll throw up the results on screen now, over 1,000 votes, which is incredible, so thank you all so much for getting involved with that. And anyway, I saw this was one of the most requested videos from that comment section, and just general comment sections. I get this comment quite a lot, so I figured it would be a good choice for this video. So, without any further delays, let's get started. Alright, so what I'm thinking happens to make Anne Maria not quit is after the challenge ends, Cameron goes up to her and says, "Hey, you know that's not a real diamond, right? Because he's really smart and I expect he would have the knowledge to know it's a fake." He would go up to her and point out some blemishes or something and explain that it's not real, which gets her head back in the game, and ultimately then she doesn't quit, and it's just Brick that gets eliminated normally here. The only other thing this impacts is the fact that Dakota can't be made a player again, because the reason she's put onto the maggots originally is because they're down a player because Anne Maria quit. Now that she doesn't quit, I suppose Chris will just have to keep her as an intern. So the first part of this challenge seems fairly unchanged, as it is Cameron's quick thinking that ultimately gets the win for the maggots. I think that would still happen, and they would get the map and the head start in the second part of the challenge. It's also worth noting Dakota is still mutated and would probably be looking for Sam as an individual than rather as a part of a team, and it would be just out of pure love rather than anything competitive. I don't think she'd be doing the whole trying to be friends with Zoe arc now though, so the maggots might have more trouble navigating the swamp with the mutant alligator, so both teams would ultimately have to find a way around the thorn bush because there's no Dakota to throw it through, because I think she'd probably just jump over it or something, because we've seen that her jump height is ridiculous, and I just think she doesn't need to fight it now. If she's in a real hurry to try and find Sam, she's just booking it. She's not wasting time helping the other people, and that's what happens there. Scott's obviously still sabotaging his own team because for whatever reason he likes that strategy. I have many thoughts on that strategy and I might do a video on that one day, but for now he keeps doing it. And he obviously leaves directions in the dirt for the rats to follow, and then he gets his own team to dig in the wrong spot. I think Joe still wins for the rats, basically unchanged. Scott still finds the idol around this point in the season, and I think that would be unchanged just by Anne Maria staying. And I think Scott would still show Zoe it as a show of good faith and a reason for her to trust him a bit more, because at this point in the season he's trying to gain Zoe's trust and possibly try and steer her away from Mike and Cameron a little bit. But anyway, when we get to the vote, it seems pretty clear that Mike and Cameron will be going for Scott. After all, this is the vote that happens straight after Cameron says to Mike, "Mike, do you have multiple personality disorder?" and that he'll help him with it if he helps him get rid of Scott. So it seems pretty likely that they're both still voting for Scott here. And I also think they would be able to get Anne Maria on side, mainly because Anne Maria doesn't really have that many strong ties to anyone on the team. But I think she likes Vito, and she knows that's a part of Mike. She doesn't know he has multiple personality disorder, but to her it's just a thing he does sometimes that she likes, and ultimately I think she'd rather go along with him than whatever Scott and Zoe are doing. Since Scott's trying to win over Zoe in this episode, and he'd be aware of her jealousy of the whole Anne Maria and Vito thing, he would expect Zoe to be voting Anne Maria, so Scott and Zoe are both voting Anne Maria. Because if Scott votes Mike or Cameron and Zoe votes Anne Maria, then it would be a tie, and Scott's kind of expecting to get voted off here, I believe. It's never outright said, but I think that's what's happening in this episode. I've always got the vibe that Scott knew it was coming. And yeah, Scott uses his idol and then Anne Maria is kicked out, and of course, because they used Sam in the challenge and Dakota's just distracted and happy that he's there, Chris flings them too. Alright, it's merge day. Does the merge cast look familiar to anybody? Yep, we've encountered a bit of a weird problem here. It's the same cast. Now this is the part where this video becomes kind of mundane, sadly. Based on all the character dynamics, we know Scott would still trick Cameron into telling him about Mike's multiple personality disorder before the last vote just happened. I believe that would still happen, so Scott's blackmailing Mike this episode. The whole Joe and Lightning drama would still be happening, and then obviously because Mike's helping Scott, the whole Zoe drama would be happening, and then Cameron feels guilty about telling Scott. So I believe from this point on, the season kind of defaults back to how it plays out normally. The fact that Anne-Marie has gone instead of Dakota hasn't seemingly left much of a long-lasting impact. So let's just run through it, even though I'm sure you guys kind of know how this is going to go after that explanation. Scott blackmails Mike into towing him, Scott wins, and Scott picks Mike after he stands up to him and wins over Zoe by being honest. And he's outlived his usefulness because Scott can't blackmail him anymore with something he's not keeping a secret. Cameron takes out Joe after stealing his smoke machine, and then Cameron and Lightning vote off Joe. Scott and Zoe vote for each other, and Joe votes for Lightning. Joe is out. Same again, shocker, it stays the same. Cameron steals Lightning's invincibility by hanging off his shirt, and Scott gets flung away with Fang with 2 votes. More unchanged stuff. Cameron and Zoe struggle to work efficiently together in the race, and Lightning manages to beat them, and Lightning votes off Zoe to have a seemingly easier opponent in the finale. And we all know how this goes, they both get winning endings. Well, that's a bit anticlimactic, but I think that is how the season would go if Anne-Maria didn't quit. I think she would just get eliminated one episode later and nothing else really seems to change. Now, I've been trying to stick to in-universe rules as much as possible, but I could have very easily thrown in some fake changes or things that shouldn't happen to try and make the video more interesting, but that would feel a bit unauthentic. This whole series is trying to figure out using the logic of in-universe and committing to things that happen if they still would happen, and trying to figure out what people would do if they didn't happen. I still believe the same outcomes happen. So this is the first one of these where I've ever had not much actually change. I've never had the same winners before, and I've never had the same final 6 before. So that's interesting going forward. I will have to keep an eye out for more videos like this. But I wanted to do this video because it was probably the most requested Revenge of the Island video comment I'd seen. And I saw some comments that had lots of likes for this, so I really wanted to do it justice and make it for the people that really wanted it. I'm kind of sorry that it has ended up like this, but this is how it has to go because using the rules of the series, I don't believe anything changes. That's the problem. Sorry if it's not the most entertaining one this time out, but next time's video should hopefully be better. Not that I'm saying this video is bad, but I'm just saying the lack of change makes it feel less satisfying, I assume. It does for me at least. But it's interesting at the very least, and we can take that on board. So yeah, I'll be throwing up some comments of people who asked for this. I really appreciate all the support. Thank you for participating in the poll, and thank you for subscribing to the channel, liking videos, watching videos, and just generally engaging with videos with comments. I really appreciate all of that. I love going through the comments and reading stuff. And until next time, this has been your boy Vice Nodge, and see ya.